Have you ever wondered what historical lunches looked like? From odd combinations to unappetizing meals? We'll talk about 20 of the worst lunches that are thankfully a thing of the past. Let's get on with it. Perhaps one of the most unhinged recipes we've come across. Ham-wrapped bananas from the 70s are an unexpected combination of flavors. This recipe is as baffling as its name sounds. Baked bananas covered in mustard and wrapped in ham and cheese truly sounds just as bad as it was. Combining cheap items like ham and bananas was the easiest way for people to ensure they get their protein and fruit intake completed in one lunch. Ham-wrapped bananas, now faded into history, in the 70s were considered to be a heart meal. Mothers would give them as lunches to their children. This recipe could be found in McCall's Great American Recipe book that normalized putting fruit and meat cuts in one meal. Today, this meal is remembered as one of the oddest combinations ever created, one that would be repulsive to eat. Introduced in the 1970s, the hamburger helper became a staple for many American families as a quick and easy meal solution, hence it being called America's favorite one-pan meal. The most popular version of it included the basic ingredients of dried pasta with a package of seasoning in a box to be cooked along with some ground beef. The product was first introduced by the General Mills subsidiary, Betty Crocker, as a response to the rising meat prices at the time. Cleverly, it included the word helper, as the manufacturer's main goal was to advertise it as a way to make your hamburgers taste better. It certainly helped the pockets of families as it became an affordable option for meat and pasta lovers. Due to increasing competition and evolving taste buds of the masses, this beloved lunch slowly faded into the background, lost amidst the multiple relaunches and newer creations. A rather odd variation of noodles from the 70s was the infamous Mug-O lunch, mostly popular among school-going kids. The Mug-O lunch provided kids with a mushy mess of mac and cheese that would have to be heated up. Advertised as a hot dish you can create in a mug, the Mug-O lunch had multiple options apart from macaroni and cheese. This included beef noodle, chicken noodle, and spaghetti that were sold in packets of dried pasta and seasoning packets meant to be combined with boiling water and stirred in a mug. But costing only a few cents, the quality and taste of the lunch was what can only be described as a hot, mushy mess. Thankfully, with time, newer inventions of instant meals, specifically instant noodles that tasted better, came, and we were saved from this average lunch from the 70s. Extremely popular, especially from the 1940s to the 1970s, Jell-O salads started appearing at parties and family gatherings. This was an American salad made from flavored gelatin, now called Jell-O, fruits and shredded vegetables like carrot and cabbages. We know. What an abomination to use Jell-O for savory dishes. Toppings like cottage cheese, cream cheese, or pretzels were added onto these salads to enhance its presentation. They were famous in the suburbs as it was seen as a mark of sophistication of a housewife, showing casing elegance through salads having shapes of Jell-O made with customary molds. Definitely a shocking way to compete with others. As French cooking was introduced in the United States, Jell-O salads were thankfully seen as less elegant and lost their charm. Soon, dietary trends against consuming Jell-O caused the final decline of this once fashionable food. Popularized in the 1960s, the Watergate salad used one of the most popular ingredients at the flavored Jell-O mixes. This dessert-like lunch started becoming a family favorite. This was because of the addition of a very peculiar ingredient, pistachio pudding mix. Indeed, its sweetness arose from the nutty goodness of pistachios having the added toppings of marshmallows, different canned fruits, and extreme dollops of whipped cream. The people adopted this creamy dessert salad as a staple dessert at every family event, spreading its delight to every family member. As the awareness against consuming high contents of sugar arose, this sweet dish met its decline. With more women entering the working force, meal planning shifted to adopting healthier options and simpler desserts that didn't include a mesh of multiple high-sugar content ingredients. Thank God for our hearts. This rather confusing mix of a pea salad with bacon and cheese left us scratching our heads when we came across it. Back in the day, salad was a go-to starter for many households, just like it is today. The inclusion of cheese in a peas cream salad, however, is far from normal. The use of canned peas and pre-shredded cheese made this salad quick and easy to assemble. While some might say that this simple salad that can be made using peas, cheese, cream, and bacon may taste good, it is definitely not something on the menus in the 21st century. Even households who love to make salads would not think of this disastrous mix of ingredients. Alas, in the 1950s and 60s, this simple 4-ingredient salad was cheap and something new. It became a head-turner for a while until it eventually died down and people went back to the plain old simple pea salads. On to the Frank bean bake. This interesting combination of ingredients arose when canned beans became the first form of convenient food and started to emerge in the United States. It was a budget-friendly dish combining hot dogs and beans, commonly found in American households. The popularity of this dish peaked during the Great Depression when affordable and filling meals were necessary for many families. It was often served in casual settings, a dish that was a snack between friends hanging out or siblings having a brief lunch break. Often it was served on days people gathered to watch sports. The basic recipe included slices of hot dog served on top of baked beans, which doesn't sound appealing, but the flavor seemed to be great. Additions to make it more fancy would be brown sugar, herbs, and spices and onions. A true American classic, the cheeseburger pie was a dish found in Kansas City where beef is highly consumed. It was part of the famous Impossible Pie series by Betty Crocker. This pie gained popularity due to its cheesy goodness and a flaky crust filled with juicy ground beef as its core ingredients. It was advertised as being a recipe in the No Time to Cook cookbook to appeal to people looking for a quick way to create a meal that would tug at your heartstrings. It could be customized by people adding different forms of sauces on top or the addition of sautéed onions and bacon. At the peak of its popularity was when people realized a cheap fix doesn't equal a healthy fix, and concerns arose around consuming such a high cholesterol meal. Slowly, this dish lost popularity, rightfully so, as maintaining the health of your heart is more important than melted cheese. While not mainstream like many lunches on this list, frog legs were still considered a delicacy and were relatively well known around the world. Most famous in French cuisine, followed by Chinese, Vietnamese, and Spanish cuisines. Frog legs are the meatiest part of the frog that is skinned and soaked in cold water before it is cooked. They are extremely rich in protein, vitamin A, and omega-3. They can absorb the flavors of any spice rub and prove to be a very hearty dish, consumed widely by people with eccentric tastes. With time, increasing concerns regarding the ethics behind consuming frog legs grew. It was reported that there is a decline in the species of the frogs that were usually consumed for cooking. Even though they have not completely faded away, the popularity behind this dish now arises from the shadows. Enjoyed by food enthusiasts, especially those with more European tastes. The terrine of garden vegetables traditionally arose in French cuisine. It is a vegetable loaf that is cooked in a mold that sounds very bland. A vegetable terrine is made from different vegetables like leeks, zucchini, cucumbers, beets, and tomatoes. All of these ingredients would be put in the mold and gelatin would be poured on top of it. Use of meat would be optional, so meat texture alternatives like hearty mushrooms would be used. This dish is often served cold, but can also be given at room temperature, which makes it mushy. Just from the description, one would cringe thinking about the taste. Thankfully, with time and newer generations, the idea of vegetables suspended in Jell-O lost its appeal, and such Jell-O vegetable creations faded into history. The sandwich loaf was a popular party dish in mid-20th century American cuisine. This loaf included pieces of bread slices set up in a horizontal manner. The fillings could range from egg salads to ham salads and cheese. People turned towards using odd ingredients in the loaf that would make for one interesting taste. In 1912, due to the lack of variety in sandwich condiments, people in the United States came up with the idea of a cheese and salt sandwich loaf. You heard that right? They would mix cheese with an excessive amount of salt, and there you go. Lunch was served. Thankfully, this lunch faded away as time went on, saving us from a terrible sandwich that no one could fathom eating today. Curried fish in rice ring is a more of an exotic lunch dish. It first came to light in Danish cuisine. Much like its name, this dish includes a ring of flavored rice, and the center is kept hollow for the main star of the dish, fish. The rice is covered with a fish curry sauce that was cooked in herbs and spices, creating a sauce having overly large pieces of fish. The rice ring was typically made with saffron or turmeric to give it a vibrant color. This dish is so visually appealing that if you serve it at a dinner party, they'd definitely take a bite. But the taste? Well, that just depended on how many people like an overly seafood-concentrated dish. It may not be the worst, but it's definitely not the best. The odd mix of vegetables with huge pieces of fish in some rice doesn't exactly sound as appealing as it looks. Cup steak puddings has a huge part in the historical British comfort food list. It is a warm meal that would make any person feel happy and content after consuming. It is a meaty delight that includes the use of fine British beef pieces in the form of steak as well as using kidney parts. It is slow cooked and added to a gravy having the flavor of your liking. Most commonly, it is cooked in the Guinness gravy. This steak and kidney gravy is combined with a sweat, beef fat-based pastry and boiled together, creating the perfect cup steak pudding. As good as we made it sound, the taste would be rather precarious, hence why its popularity died down over the years, making this dish a forgotten and rather confusing lunch. Another name in the list that you probably wouldn't guess is the round steak and ravioli. You might wonder what a round steak is? Well, it's the meat of the rear leg. It's usually a drier cut and braised, but serving with ravioli was a popular choice. Ravioli has been popular as far back as the 20th century, but mix these two together, and the result isn't the food coma you might have expected. The dry meat tends to work much better within stews and roasts, and while it remained an incredibly popular lunch due to being easy on the wallet, it faded away as cuts with more marbling became the public preference. This dish was a regular in households around the 19th-20th century, but its glory days are a little past it. Still, it's a cut of meat that won't fail you. And who's ever said no to a little bite-sized pasta? Fish in aspic had its claim to fame in the 20th century, and was usually always used together with fish in dishes like sanya kuna, a local treasure in Nepal. Though it might be a little out of your comfort zone because it's a dried fish curry that's made with old mustard, cold water, and spices. You've probably seen aspic usually in the form of broths or stocks of different meats, encased in molds combining many tasty ingredients. The use of fish and aspic together has been found as early as 1375, and even in recent history it still makes its appearance. The 19th century wasn't that long ago in retrospect. In America, it became really popular around the 1950s, but now you'd be hard-pressed to find this as a weekly staple of anyone's home-cooked dinners or lunches. Not to say it's not worth trying at least once, though. Just keep an open mind. And water. If the crown roast of Frankfurters isn't a treat for your mouth, it'll be an experience for your eyes. A heavy hitter from the 50s for multiple reasons. This literal crown-looking roast of Frankfurters is one of the more unique dishes out there. It was even a popular element of diet culture in the 70s, but what's it all about? 15-20 Frankfurters standing attentively in the shape of a crown, radiant and soft, creamed cabbage or cauliflower, balls of potatoes, pimento, a dash of cider vinegar, and a lot of sewing and trial and error. The biggest factor that makes or breaks the dish is how well you can tie and keep the Frankfurters together. It's the essence of the dish and what gives it both its flavor and recipe. Still though, an edible crown? That's a pretty good flex for your Saturday cookout. But the amount of Frankfurters without any additional condiment makes for a pretty bland lunch. Alright, the Jellied tomato refresher is a summer exclusive and definitely a good way to cool down, and it involves a lot of tastes you might not be familiar with. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a glorified Bloody Mary, and the answer may surprise you. It almost is, but not totally. Unflavored gelatin, tomato juice, green pepper flakes, sweetener, good, tried and tested, reliable Worcestershire sauce. It involves mixing everything with the tomato juice to create a tasty broth and then adding in soft gelatin, letting it set in the fridge, and then beating it a little before serving. It was extremely popular in the late 1960s-80s, but it seems it didn't keep up with modern taste buds at all. You couldn't convince someone at gunpoint to make this one with a straight face. Almond in the haystack is a lunch that sounds just as confusing as its recipe. A few generous ounces of cream cheese, half a cup or less of salad dressing, a generous dazzle of chopped almonds, pickles, and onions, because we can't live without our pickles, right? Shaped into meal, appetizer-sized mounds. Either way, these almonds in a haystack look big enough to not eat alone. And the secondary star of the show, ham. This mid-20th century was a questionable one then, and it's an eyebrow raiser now. Popular mostly in the early 50s to 60s, it was in cookbook recipes everywhere, but now you'd find out about reading articles like this one. That's a long way from fame, huh? Can't blame the people either. The dish is a savory roller coaster, and it's not exactly an easy one to swallow, sensation or taste-wise, so the glory days being half a century ago makes sense. The world's one-stop shop for all things tropical brings you the fondaloha from the shores of Hawaii. 2 sizable fresh pineapples, a cup of cooked sliced chicken or turkey, your choice, diced celery, mayo dressing, and some chopped chutney. This is one you could see yourself eating in a little quirky experimentative mood. The pineapples are sliced and cubed, with the eyes taken out and the pineapple shells. The cubed fruit is mixed with the meat and veggies, then the sauces and drained before serving. You can add bananas and peanuts in a calm little toss for flavor, but it might be overdoing it too. You could find this in its own episode of Betty Crocker recipes in the 70s, but now it's definitely gone out of style. Sounds like something you'd eat in a Disney movie, chilling at a resort. That's it! Did this video make you cringe just thinking about these weird lunches? If so, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting facts about our history.